Hey everybody, Kris from the Brothers Take here to give a review of Hogwarts Legacy. And as I review this, I'm reviewing my experience of the game and not necessarily the brothers' experience of the game. So later on down the line on the podcast, I would hope that we would all talk about this game together. But in terms of my experience, I suppose at time of recording, I've put 32 hours into this game. I've completed all of the main story. I've completed a bunch of the major side quests, if not all of the major side quests, and then done a bunch of the kind of optional other side content and things that you could do in terms of exploration, puzzle solving, and all those kind of things, right? So if this is a game that you haven't gotten yet and you're kind of considering, is this something that you want to get? There's kind of two questions you got to ask yourself. One, are you into RPGs? Because this is very much an RPG game built on RPG systems. And then two, are you into Harry Potter and the Wizarding World and that kind of stuff, right? Because this is really an attempt at creating the sort of dream Wizarding World gaming experience. So I think if you're a fan of either of those things, you will think that this is a great game. It is a very, very good RPG with plenty to do, lots of customization options for your character, lots of exploration. The combat actually gets really in depth, especially when you unlock all your spells. You know, the deeper into the game you get, when you start unlocking all these different systems that are available to you, it becomes a far more vastly enjoyable RPG game. And then the other side of it is, if you're into the Wizarding World, there is so much lore. There is so many little Easter eggs, things you can do, little nods to, you know, whether you're a fan of the movies or a fan of the books or whatever you're into. There are so many kind of dream experiences, I suppose, for someone who is a fan of Harry Potter or the Wizarding World. So if you're into either of those things, you will really enjoy this game. However, if you like both those things, then what can I say? It's a slam dunk for you, I think, because if you're, you know, into RPG games previous, and then you are also a Wizarding World fan, then they have just made the sort of Dungeons and Dragons perfect experience for you to create your own character, go on your own adventure through Hogwarts and the surrounding areas, the Scottish Highlands. I mean, the map is massive and there's lots to see and lots to do, but there's also really, really interesting ways in which they've implemented the lore into the gameplay. And that takes place not only through the use of spells, but also like through things like, you know, flying on your broom, collecting magical beasts and creatures and looking after them, using the room of requirement and, you know, as a base of operations, basically, and then customizing it to how you require it, meeting various characters and creatures throughout. It basically has it all. I think one major omission from the game, and I do wonder if it's something that they plan on adding in future DLC or something that maybe they just couldn't quite figure out based on how much else is in this game, is the omission of Quidditch. I would think that if you're a big fan of the Harry Potter Wizarding World, Quidditch is something that you would have, you know, dreamed of playing as well. So Quidditch is unfortunately not in this game, but flying on your broom absolutely is. And once you get the broom, bar a couple of areas, you can fly virtually anywhere. The whole map is open to you. You can explore as much as you like with the character that you have created. So some context in case you haven't, I mean, I'm sure this isn't the review you've first checked out. Reviews have been out for a long time, and, you know, we certainly don't get games ahead of time. So we're playing the games, catching up, and then finally giving our review. But just in case you haven't been fully caught up to speed, when the game starts, you'll get to create your own Hogwarts student, a fifth-year student, and there is sort of loose story reasons as to why that is. And then you will get to attend Hogwarts. You will be going to classes, learning spells, but it's not like, you know, it's not a school simulator. You will just, it's kind of built into the story. It's done like missions. You have to kind of go attend a class in order to unlock certain spells or certain features that you will then be able to use in combat and in exploration. And that's where it becomes really interesting, because once you have a huge array of spells that you have to collect, everything starts really opening up to you. You can use the spells in really interesting combinations in terms of solving puzzles or solving different battle scenarios. There's different ways in which you can approach battle. You can use potions as buffs for yourself. You could use plants as a means of attacking larger groups of people. You can, you know, hotkey basically your spells in the combination that you best like for traversal and for combat. So, like I say, it's a huge, vast RPG. And once you have all those systems unlocked to you, the game really opens up and becomes really, really fun. However, getting to that point does take a little bit of time. So when the game opens, and no spoilers here, there's a really, really great opening, and the game is off to a really good, exciting start after you have created your character and named your character. So there's lots of nice personalization there. And then again, it gets off to a really explosive start. And then you first get to Hogwarts. And like your first day at any school or new place where you don't know anybody, it's a bit awkward at first. You know, lots of people are coming being very, very nice to you, but you don't know anybody, and you feel a little bit out of place. And then you got to go, you know, attend classes, and they give you assignments to do, and it feels like homework, and you still don't really know your way around, and you're kind of getting lost a little bit. So it feels a bit awkward at first, but the more you settle in, as you unlock more and more spells, not only does everything start opening up to you and you start getting really familiar with not only the territory, but also the systems that are available to you and how to navigate the map and how to fast travel and how to, you know, highlight your tracking system for how to get to the next quest that you've highlighted. But you also start getting to know the characters around you, not just the professors, but some of the other students too. And some of those key students, for example, have these major side quests. And some of those quests and some of the moments of those quests are even greater than the main story. I got really, as the more I played, I got genuinely invested in those characters. I also got really, really invested personally in looking after and looking for the rare magical beasts that you can find throughout the lands, in the wilds of the Scottish Highlands and also in the Forbidden Forest, which of course you can enter. So that's another aspect of the game that is highly enjoyable. But the other really enjoyable thing, again, once this all opens up, it feels quite limiting at the start, much like any RPG really. But once you have all your spells, oh my god, you can have so much fun in battle with the combinations, and they start throwing more challenges your way. And, you know, there's so many different things you can do with the various spells, including, if you unlock them, the unforgivable curses. You know, in the Wizarding World, there are 3 unforgivable curses. You do have the option of going down a quest line and learning them, but you also do not have to. So you can be very much, you can make your own kind of moral choice on that, whether those are spells that you want to use, and if you have them, will you actually use them in battle? They are they give you really strong advantages in battle, but you know, you have to draw the line yourself morally. Do you want to be a dark wizard or witch, or do you want to stay sort of a good, loyal, law-abiding wizard or witch? But to break the game down into its pros and cons, what it does well and what it doesn't do well, let's start with the story, for example. This game has quite a good story, actually. It's very serviceable for what you want it to be, and there's so many different side quests and things you can do as well. It very much feels in line with like a Skyrim adventure, where it's like, yes, there is a main quest, the stakes are high, but that's not the only, like, if you go in and just mainline this, you're missing some of the big part of the experience, which is actually all the extra stuff too. The overall exploration, the overall interaction with the various characters and different things you can do, that is the experience and not just the mainline quest. But there is a mainline quest, and the stakes are high for the Wizarding World, and there's lots of little twists and turns and things that happen in the story that I won't go into here. As for the music, the composers have done a really, really good job at trying to homage the John Williams scores, I would say, of the early Harry Potter movies, and then some of the other bits of music that come later on too, including whoever scored, say, some of the Fantastic Beasts music. There's lots of bits of music throughout this game that sound like little motifs. I mean, there is like one, like the kind of main Harry Potter theme does a homage to that every time you find a field guide page, or, you know, it's that's sort of like completing a vital challenge that goes on throughout the game. But there's other pieces of music that, you know, they sound like they're part of the world. They sound like they're very much in that wheelhouse, but they're not just straight rips of those pieces of music. It's all original music that has been composed just for this game, and it feels very fitting for this particular world. The graphics, I think overall the graphics are pretty good. I wasn't like blown away by the graphics. I don't think it's the most mind-bending graphics ever, but this is a very, very huge map. There's a lot to see and a lot to do. So there's certain sacrifices will always happen with games of this magnitude. But generally it looks pretty good. I didn't have very many performance issues or anything like that. Couple of glitches and a couple of like pop-in issues and things like that at times, maybe texture issues, but certainly nothing game breaky or anything like that. No bugs ever, you know, crash the game on me or stop me from completing a quest or task that I wanted to do. Gameplay is where the game really shines. Not only is the combat really fun, especially when everything is opened up, as I've said before, but all the exploration, all of the puzzle solving, all that stuff is great. There's stuff to see nearly everywhere. In Hogwarts itself, there are so many little hidden passages and tunnels and avenues that you can go down, lots of little secrets for you to find, lots of magical spectacle, but then also in exploring Hogsmeade, the other little hamlets that are spread throughout the Scottish Highlands, and just the Scottish Highlands themselves, full of little dungeons and tunnels and so many amazing things to go see and find. You don't have to travel far before there's something new to catch your eye and do. There's lots and lots of activities to do in this game. So the gameplay is somewhere where they've really, really done an amazing job. And I have to applaud the developers on not only the design of this game in terms of how much you can do and how much they've put into it, but also just how much lore from the Wizarding World that they've taken and implemented into gameplay in a seamless way that feels right and feels natural. And also how much replayability in terms of there are little slight variations and changes depending on which house you pick. So, for example, I played my adventure as a Hufflepuff, and I'm aware that there are slight different changes in some of the quests if you play as a Gryffindor or Slytherin or Ravenclaw, and you can't go to the other dorms if you play as, whichever house you pick. So whichever house you pick, that is the dorm that you can see, and they all look very, very different. So that's another little cool reason to maybe replay with a whole new character. As for the cons, as I said before, Quidditch is kind of an obvious omission, and I do still wonder, is that something that they're planning on doing in the future? Maybe they're trying to figure out how to do multiplayer and make it like a team sport, which would be pretty cool, and that might come in DLC down the future. We'll see. They do give a story reason as to why Quidditch is in there, but it's very... there's nothing big there. So that's just one kind of obvious omission. And I did find that there wasn't a lot of enemy variety. After a while, it felt like I was fighting the same kind of groupings or a bunch of enemies over and over and over again. Nothing wrong with the enemies, and some of them are animated very, very well. I don't want to give any kind of spoilers as to what enemies are in this, but I do think, knowing a bit about the lore of the Wizarding World, there are some enemy types that could have been in the game that are not. Again, perhaps it's something that they want to hold on to for the future. I imagine that they will want to either expand on this game, do DLCs, or somehow do some kind of sequel to it, which I do think would prove difficult based on just how much you can do in this game. I don't know how you could sell a whole new package like with this same map. Maybe you'd have to go somewhere else altogether, and that is possible. There's a whole Wizarding World that they could explore, but they really have put so much into this game. And again, like I said in the beginning of this review, if you're an RPG fan and a Wizarding World fan, this has got to be the sort of dream game. It has that kind of I'm a huge Batman fan myself, and when the Arkham games were out, that was sort of the dream experience. They captured the feeling of being Batman. So this certainly, I would imagine, captures that feeling of being a wizard or a witch, going to Hogwarts, and then exploring the wider Wizarding World. If, however, you are someone who does not like the Wizarding World, if that's something that you're really not into, I mean, that is the prime identity of the game. So even if you can appreciate the RPG mechanics, I do feel that if you do not like the Wizarding World, that identity will clash with you, and it might be really hard to get into this game. But if you like it even somewhat, or if you casually like it, then I think you're going to love this game. I think 50 points to Avalanche, the developers who have done an amazing job of working on this game. I would love to see what they do in the future with other IPs. I think that they have really proven themselves as a very talented studio here. And they take the House Cup for this one. Congratulations. This is a really, really great RPG. And if anyone's a Wizarding World fan, highly recommend it. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. So guys, let us know. Jump down in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube to share your own thoughts on Hogwarts Legacy. What house are you playing as? Are you enjoying the game? What's your favorite aspect of the game? Please do let us know. And if you enjoyed this review and it gives a thumbs up, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. Or if you guys have been listeners on audio platforms, then you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Hogwarts Legacy. Thanks very much for checking this out. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time.